Welcome to Sustainability for Sinners, a non-judgmental, informative and hopefully helpful place you can learn about sustainability. I focus on health, water, food, energy, antibiotics, detoxifying your life and much, much more. If you like what you see, then hit the like and subscribe button for more content coming soon. Enjoy! Brendan, welcome. Delighted to have you here in a virtual space. For anyone who doesn't know this man, he's one of the faces, or for me, probably the face of regenerative farming in Ireland. Has done a lot of exciting things over the last while. I think you're the only agroforestry fella in Ireland, are you? Or are there others?
Chris. Well, I'm the only farmer who does 100% of his farming through a forest, basically.
Through the trees.
Yes. Yeah. There's lots of guys who are introducing trees now and maybe have a section of their farm that they're converting into agroforestry. But I, like, for my sins, have taken over 100% of my forestry into food production. So
Wow.
it's but without harming the forest, we're kind of building organic matter in the soil. We're using the labor unit of the animals to maintain the forest, basically.
Right. And how did you get the idea of that?
Well,
Was it you just fancied a challenge, did you?
yeah, I am mad. I know I'm mad.
Good
It's
mad, though. Good mad.
a bit of an anarchist, maybe. I don't really follow. You could see the problems that's happening in agriculture over the last 40, 50 years. And I was trying to look at systems that would address the problems in
Mm-hmm.
the most regenerative way possible, but also still produce nutrient-dense food. And I picked probably the worst piece of land in the country to see if it could work here, it could work anywhere. So we back onto
Yeah.
Coolnamona Bog, which is right behind us at the moment. It's maybe a third of my land. It's free draining, a good deep organic matter in the soil. And the further we get
Okay.
closer we get to the bog, the more it becomes acidic and waterlogged. And
Right.
it just not your traditional farmland. And still we have balanced the fungal to bacteria ratio. We have reduced the invasive species here. We've thinned out the forest, and we're nowhere near where we should be or where I want to be. And I don't think I ever will be. This is kind of an intergenerational project, but we have come along in leaps and bounds over the last 5 years from the start of this project.
Great. When you say intergenerational, is it that you be hopefully passing it on to the sons or daughters that are
Yeah,
interested
like
in farming?
this is one of the major problems in agriculture at the moment. It's succession, that nobody wants. The next generation just doesn't want to take over the farm because see the hardship involved and the hours and the debts
Yeah.
and the drudgery. With this farm here, well, number one, we direct sell all our own produce. So, and number two, we've 7 different enterprises on the farm. And number three, we actually invite people in to see what we do. And so it's a lot more interactive. And from
Yeah.
that, it's a way bigger picture than just producing food, or farming is only a small percentage. Traditional farming is only a small percentage of the workload. So it has attracted, like, we need salespeople, we need obviously animal husbandry, but we also need people who can work with the with people, with courses, with tourism.
Yeah.
It's a much broader business, so it can attract a lot more talents rather than just
Hmm.
farming on its own. So that's where the
Yeah.
intergenerational comes in. We have the farm shop.
Oh, you're drawing all the kind of strengths from people you know or your family, say, that could help you with
Exactly.
different parts.
There's a lot more interest than just raising animals and driving a
Yeah,
tractor. You know.
yeah. And is there a lot more work on that side then? And with is there a lot more work there and a bit less on the farming side, would you say? You know, if
Yeah,
you've
like
figured out, have you figured out easier ways to farm over time that make it more, say, efficient or less time on the land kind of thing?
efficiency is the big problem of what we do at the moment because we have 7 different enterprises. We
Yeah.
can't concentrate on any one um, activity. So we're
Hmm.
if you're a dairy farmer, you can really fine tune your cows and your paddocks and your systems, and even your
Yeah.
collection of your milk. And whereas with us, it's one of the downsides short term. But
Hmm.
to be a true regenerative farm, you cannot be a monoculture. You have to have several different enterprises
More
all
than,
working together,
yeah.
complementing each other. And so longer term, you have a more resilient income. You have
Hmm.
less impact on the soil with pathogens and um, uh, disease. You know, from any
Hmm.
monoculture, we're going to have a lot more pathogens and disease build up. Um, and overall, you will have a way more resilient business and farm and environment with the different enterprises all working together.
Mm. And would that be, could you mix that up between growing things and animals, or is it one or the other?
No, no, a true regenerative farm needs ruminant animals. It needs livestock.
Yeah.
Um, like the purpose of a ruminant animal is basically to infuse the soil with microbial life from the gut of that animal, and
Hmm.
that microbial life that is grown on the land with that animal that is infused in the soil through its waste. Um, that's a true closed loop system that can
Yeah.
regenerate year on year. So you don't have to buy microbes, you don't have to buy chemical fertilizer. You're
Yeah.
generating your own energy to grow your crops.
Yeah. I think that's a key part that is missing in the public conversation is how important the fertilizer side of things is. Like, if you
Absolutely.
look at, say, and I was vegetarian for 20 years, so this isn't a knock on veganism or vegetarianism. It's more kind of focusing on being critical of what you might see as the solution. And one of the things that, say, the big industry that would have take the animals off the land, the monocrop culture, they need some type of fertilizer, and that's chemicals if it's not
Yeah.
from animals. And that's a big tricky part. And what you're doing there is avoiding buying fertilizers or reducing and using your animals to just do it a lot more, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you're
Almost.
reducing the chemical side and you're reducing the dependency and having to spend money on it as well. Um, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's really building that resilience on for your business and for your farm, in that you're not dependent on international markets with
Yeah,
for your fertilizer, because you've no control over the cost of your chemical nitrogen. You've also no control over the cost of your outputs if you sell
hmm,
into the existing system. So the
yeah,
two major controls that farmers need is to be able to reduce their inputs and create their own, which can be done and has been done for 10,000 years on
yeah,
farms. It's really only the last 70 years that has changed, and that's with the introduction of um, uh, cheap oil and cheap energy based chemical fertilizers,
hmm,
which is a finite resource as well. So it will run out, or it will. You're exposing yourself to so many external um, hardships, really,
Variables. Yeah.
and variables,
Yeah.
yeah, that your business can't plan for. And same then on the other side, where it comes to selling your produce, when you have
Mm.
when you're dependent on a commodity price as opposed to making your own price, um, it changes the whole system as well. So you really have to push every kilo or every liter possible that can be produced
Yeah.
off your land, as opposed to reducing that slightly but getting a higher price and building um, a diverse customer base as well. So that's where the
Yeah.
diversity is not just in environment, it's not just in income, it's actually it's not just an enterprise, it's literally through the whole business model.
Yeah. You know, I'm thinking of like what it means to have in a country. By the way, sorry, Brendan, if you move on from there, you might get better coverage. It started flickering.
Oh
How,
no, did it? So
yeah,
yeah,
but just no, I think everything was on it, but yeah, perfect. Now it's much better.
it,
Do you,
it should be better here now.
you know what popped into my mind there? Say, Russia has what's supposedly called like a very undiversified economy. Like it's very
Yes,
focused on oil and gas, fossil fuel extraction. That's their main business. And then you have countries that are well diversified and they have a load of different things going on at the same time that are making money. So that if one fell away, it's less risky for them.
yes,
So say Ireland does have a thankfully a very strongly diversified economy that if one thing took a hit, the other things would keep the economy up. And you with the chickens and the pigs and the cows, is that as what you have, or what else do you have?
yeah. We've pigs, beef, um, eggs, meat chickens, turkeys, bees,
Ah,
firewood,
Jesus,
um, biochar, and
one-stop shop.
yeah, we're getting into tourism now as well, and then we do a lot with the education side of things.
Yeah,
So,
lovely.
um, so it's a little bit like we grow all our own vegetables as well. I don't sell them, but I use the compost from the animals to grow
Yeah.
veg on the land, kind of using the trees as to create little microclimates, and it's working really
Okay.
really well too.
Yeah. Brilliant. And how are the sorry, I for anyone who's watching or listening, I've been to Brendan's farm. And I'll admittedly say I didn't know too much about your farm before I went there. I hopped in a car with a group of lads who said that it was going to be an interesting visit. And I just turned up at whatever 8 o'clock in the morning to drive to you. And on the way, um and the way my friend said, yeah, he's got a lot going on there. He's got a load of different um, animals on the farm, and it's what is it, 28 acres or something?
Yeah, it's just under 30
Yeah,
acres altogether. Like, and that includes a couple of acres of bog, like high bog out the back, some pine
yeah,
forests, and then
perfect
deciduous
for turf
forest.
burning. I'm joking, but
I don't think it
um,
was. I don't think it was ever actually cut, and the reason being, it's kind of in a corner of. It was never milled anywhere for peat. It was kind of off the main area of bog. So Bordemona
okay,
never really bothered trying to mill it because it was a
probably
little bit
too
awkward.
small as well. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Interesting. Well, he was saying then that you had a lot of animals on the farm on a small patch of land. And I go, oh, so it's quite intensive, is it? And he goes, oh, no, no, no. And he has an organic chicken farm. I was like, I was joking. But it's great to see um, higher stocking rates of everything, basically, that you could put on a smaller patch of land than you might be used to seeing on farms, and that they're all generating an income. I'm sorry to keep drilling in on the economic side, but if you look at how the world functions, the economics have to work otherwise the whole thing doesn't
Yeah, like
turn.
this is
So
this is a really big point actually, because to develop a business like this, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It's like when you plant a tree, you can't cut it down for up to a couple of 100 years sometimes, but even a willow could be
patience.
7 or 8 years or 10 years before you could even coppice it. Um, the difference, one major difference between conventional and organic farms is, if I want my grass to grow properly and grow continuously, it takes several years to build up the organic matter and their microbial life in the soil for that to work. But when it does work, it works continuously and almost autonomously. You just manage it. Whereas a conventional farmer can spread his nitrates and grass will grow straight, within a week. And the same with,
Mm.
if you want to spray weeds, you just spray the weeds and the weeds are killed within a week. If I wanted to change what's growing in the soil, it takes time to change the microbiome of the soil and change the pH of the soil. Again, it takes a couple of years, and
Hmm.
it's but when you do it, you stop your docks growing or you stop your thistles or nettles growing, and
Ah,
again, it's done
yeah.
permanently. Now, when it comes to an income, it's the exact same thing. It's
Mm.
you don't have stuff to sell straight away. You have to build up that ecosystem. You have to build it up slowly, because especially if it's land that has been farmed out, or it may be low in organic matter as it is. If
Hmm.
you over impact with animals too quickly, you will actually degrade the soil and
Yeah.
degrade your ecosystem, and it'll go backwards and it'll crash. So
So it is delicate.
it's very delicate, and
Yeah.
long term, like as it is, I'm almost 5 years on this land now, and I've really only started making any kind of positive income in the last year and this year.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had to invest a huge amount of time and money and faith that it was going to work, because
Yeah.
there's no blueprint for this. Like, there's no one else in the country where I can go to and say, has this worked for you or not? Because like, I'm trying this out myself, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love it. Love it.
so because of that, um, like, it has to stand on its own 2 feet financially. It is starting to
Hmm.
do that now, but but at the same time, and this is hard to believe, but I've got no support financially from
Yeah.
agriculture or in any environmental schemes so far, because we're too far ahead of any of the schemes that are out there at the moment.
Yeah.
So government really needs to recognize what we're doing and the research we're doing, and reward farmers to go this direction, not to
Hmm.
go into feedlot beef, or not to go into say monoculture dairy. And
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a tough one, but we're getting there. We're the
Yeah.
tides are definitely changing.
Well, there's a lot of exciting science coming out as well. Like we can talk all day about, there's big strengths and weaknesses in science at the moment. There's a lot of phony stuff out there, but there's a lot of robust science that's been worked on. Say Professor Peter Bick in
Yeah.
America. Like those guys, they're doing about a decade's work already of measuring carbon sequestration, the increase in biodiversity on farmlands, and how it works with regenerating the soil and everything. And that's going to play pretty strongly into policy if it goes that way, and could potentially give you guys more help, more funding, with strong logic and reason, with good science behind it, you know?
Yeah.
It
Well,
sounds like you do need that kind of support for farmers if they want to go. Like you're particularly, say, a resourceful guy with a bit of a wildness to even try this out. I don't think we should be expecting everyone to be this kind of um, outright trailblazing or whatever. They need support and a layout to go with,
A
and
roadmap, exactly.
reassurance, you know?
Yeah. Well, on that, we have uh, uh, attracted the Department of Agriculture, the policymakers for CAP 2027. They've been out on the farm here. They came, they've looked at what we're doing. I'm actually helping um, advise a direction for the new CAP. I'm also dealing with
Brilliant.
several universities that have really become interested in taking on case studies and about um, nutrient density of our produce, on
Yeah.
measuring the soil carbon and measuring the chemical um, load in the soil to see how clean is it, and
Hmm.
there's lots of there's lots of great stuff happening, and academic backing is what we need too. So we need to have sound research in our
Hmm.
context as well as what's happening in America. Like it's really the same principle no matter what type of farming you're doing. You need good soil, you need plenty of sunlight, you need water, and it's
Hmm.
all how you manage it. In Ireland, a lot of the time, you're actually trying to take water off the land, whereas in a lot of other countries, you're trying to capture water and hold water on the land.
Yeah.
So, but it's the same three principles, really. And you need to have faith that uh, what you're doing is going in the right direction too. That you're not
Yeah.
degrading the soil, that you're regenerating, that you're leaving more behind each year, that you're building communities, that you're
Mm.
um, so you keep questioning yourself each year as to what direction you're going in. Is it
Yeah.
ticking them boxes, or are you going the wrong direction? And I have gone in the wrong direction a few times, and you have to draw yourself back. And that's you have to be humble enough to know when things are going right and things are going wrong.
And that's why you shut down the llama business on the
There
farm.
you go. Yeah,
Like, no
and the
more
cannabis
llamas,
business.
okay? Too exotic for there.
Yes,
No, that's brilliant, Brendan. And I love that you're actually able to be speaking with the Common Agricultural Policy. That's the CAP, right? That's
yes,
and that's decided every 5 years, roughly. That's the term where this big policy is EU wide, isn't it?
it
Um,
is. Yeah,
and Brendan's obviously got a bit of an ear of those guys, which is where it all starts. Like if the policy shifts, everything around it changes, and
absolutely.
if the farmers get the support there, then they might be willing to try a bit of a patch of their land to see if it works for them, or even go further. I've talked to a few guys while I was doing the green search, and they were up for trying it out, like just a patch of the land, just to see if it works, dipping their toe into it, and that I mean, if farmers are willing to try organic, which is apparently on the rise now, that means they might be open to trying something like this out as well,
Yeah, well, I
especially if it
see.
makes money as well.
See, this is it. I see regenerative farming, especially like when you get to a point where you don't need to rely on nitrates and you don't need to rely on antibiotics and herbicides and pesticides and fungicides. When you reach that um, level, I see regenerative farming as a gateway into organics. I really do,
Hmm. Hmm.
because you're pretty much there at that stage. The problem with people farmers who take that jump into organics straight away, it's a huge shock to the system, and all your
Yeah.
inputs are so much more expensive. Um, your land is probably low in organic matter, and it it's like nitrates are like a drug, and when your land is low in organic matter, it needs that drug to grow the crop.
Yeah. Right
And
away. Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
So if you take that drug away, you're going to have very low yields for a number of years until you can build up that organic matter and microbial life in the soil. Whereas if you could do that through regenerative practices before taking the leap into organics, you have all that knowledge built up without worrying about, are you going to lose your organics payments or
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, you have the basics learned, and then when you do take that next step into organics, you're much more likely to actually be able to develop and go way further, way quicker.
Yeah. And you're basically saying that you could go from, like, it's a sliding scale of, say, what most people are used to, how they farm, to organics, and that transition period is just maybe a reduction of chemicals, try new things out, and then once you're in it, you can regeneratively farm under the location of organic. Like,
Yeah,
could
like
they combine?
I'll give you an idea. It's very difficult to source organic stock at the moment.
Yes.
Say
Yeah.
beef animals, it's very difficult to source even organic poultry. And it's so much easier if you're not in that confine of the organic system to dip your toe in and out of a couple of different systems, see what works, see what doesn't. You don't have to you you don't have to be tied into that
Rigid structure.
rigid structure. There you go. That's the exact
Sorry.
words. And
Yeah.
and from that, then we're able to you build that confidence, and then when you
Yeah.
if you want to go organic altogether, then you have that knowledge, you have the soil already regenerating the organic matter, the microbial life, and you're in a much more powerful situation then to actually develop an organic farm to be way more abundant.
Yeah. Um, there's there could be also money to be made. Sorry, a financial lens again, but um, say biodiversity credits and carbon credits, to large annoyance of me. Like, there's a lot of corruption there. There's a lot of BS in it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Greenwashing.
yeah, totally, totally. And like, it is a deflection tactic for corporations to say how many trees they're growing or whatever biodiversity things are happening. But this is, like, not all of it's bad, by the way, but this could be a potential game changer in that, where you're you're maybe increasing stocking rates of animals on your farm in a good way. You're sequestering carbon, so you can prove that you, by rebuilding the topsoil, so biodiversity could be thriving. You're doing your part for emissions, and you have the higher stocking rates. So you have money potentially coming in from those three avenues. And then the direct sales stuff, that's probably nothing to do really with, it's just nice that you can sell locally and all that stuff. But
Well,
that could increase potentially money coming in as well, because you're cutting out other faraway systems that you don't need to ship animals off far.
yeah, like the current sales system for agriculture is not fit for purpose either. It's not just the farming practices or the inputs, it's also the sales channels.
Brendan,
Just,
sorry, you broke up there. It just
oh
went
no,
completely slow.
wait,
I
I have
I'm
to
sorry.
change
That's
where
that could be me.
I know, I'm sure it's me. Is it okay there now?
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So,
Okay.
sorry, I broke you. Can you remember where
Yeah,
you
yeah. There's the sales model for so
Yeah.
yeah, the current sales model and for your outputs of farming is not fit for purpose either. It's really it's the same as the inputs, and your nitrates being shipped from around the world using cheap energy. It's the same as you kind of mining the soil rather than regenerating the soil with your farming practices, the end product the farmer needs to be much closer to the customer with their end product. Well, that will encourage the farmer, number one, to grow the best quality possible, because they know Mary or John down the road is going to buy
For
a
your
certain amount
people.
of it. Or
Yeah.
a chef, like, it doesn't mean you don't export it, but you build relationships with chefs around the country, around the EU. Like,
Yeah.
there's huge potential. There's 98% of all animals in Europe are raised indoors now. So
How many?
Ireland has this. We're like the oil of Ireland. Our
Yeah.
outdoor reared food. It's the demand for that food all over Europe
Yeah.
is horrendous. It's not horrendous. It's the other
In
way
a
around.
good way. In a good way.
It's amazing, and
Yeah.
chefs go mad
Horrendously
for it.
amazing.
Yes. So we need to shorten that
Yeah.
sales channel. We need to invite, like, part of our regenerative farming is that you actually are proud to open your gate to let the public in to see what you're doing, because there's no regulators and no inspectors the same way that organics have. If we want to build that trust with customers, you have to open the gate and let them in. That includes chefs,
Yeah.
it includes the public, and
Yeah.
they are really the ultimate regulators. Because if they like the taste of it, if they like how you're farming, if they can see the benefits of how you farm, then they will buy and support your product, right? And if you're selling to a supermarket or selling to a meat factory, all that's gone. Doesn't matter. You don't really care.
You don't know your farmer. You don't know anything about it, really, do
Exactly.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a core principle of regenerative farming. And
Love it.
when you build that community and build that trust with people, they will start buying off you. They'll look for it off you. You won't have to push it on them. And
Yeah.
and that has really built out to chefs that are buying our produce in Ireland now, who know chefs in England and Holland, Germany, France, Belgium, who are now looking for our produce
Brilliant.
in their
Brilliant.
country. So
Yeah.
this regeneration, you're just basically connecting with the humanity of people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so regeneration and regenerative farming, lots of people say it starts with the soil, but it actually starts with the farmer. It starts with the farmer themselves, that man or woman who wants something different, that man or woman who wants to build hope and resilience into this craft that is farming, like producing food with nature. Like, it's if you stood back and looked at it, there's so many different variables. There's so much energy and time that needs to go into this for such a small return. No other business would do it. Like, for me, here on this land, I was told by a Quilcha
The
consultant.
Irish forestry. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a forestry consultant. This forest was never really. It was planted commercially, but it was never really maintained properly, and it was never going to be commercial.
Right.
It wasn't thinned out properly. It wasn't taken care of,
Yeah.
and that was for lots of different reasons. From some of the trees were planted in the wrong soil, just didn't grow properly. To the family that owned this land didn't really. They planted it for the premiums, not for the ecosystem, or not for the environment. So it just wasn't cared for properly. And I was advised, to get the maximum money out of this land, you should chop every tree down, because it's not commercial. You should chip it and send it to Eden Dairy power plant, which is maybe an hour from here, and then get a grant, replant it again, and start from scratch. And if I was in this for the money, that's what I would have done. I would have got a grant of almost 40,000 to replant it, plus a steady income every year for 20 years. I would have got another 15, 20,000 from the trees that were chipped as a commodity, basically for creating electricity, green electricity. But I would have left the land with no tree cover. Like the trees here are 40 years old, and it has its own microclimate. It has its own, like, a huge amount of carbon stored in the trees, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose that. So I could have took the money and replanted
And
again,
ran. Yeah.
but most farmers aren't in it for the money. Like,
No.
you have to pay your bills, you have to work, do enough, but it's really, it goes a lot deeper with a lot of farmers, and that's where regenerative farming actually starts, is with the farmer itself.
Yeah. And I mean, like, farmers have definitely, there's been a heavy weight on them with the climate conversation, and I speak outright about it. The propaganda from corporations that do have made cows a target for numerous reasons, um, and like there's a weight that the society it feels like they mightn't have your back as much anymore because they think that you're part of the problem, and that's
Yes.
long been over, with the science that's cleared it up. And even with Dairy Girl Diaries, say, who was on just beforehand, um, we went through a book from Michael Mann, who kind of debunks the whole thing and says that, I think cattle livestock emissions are 6%, but it's part of a larger cycle in the biosphere, that it's not doing anything it shouldn't be. And as we spoke about earlier with the fertilizing, it helps sequester carbon by rebuilding the topsoil and biodiversity thriving. So it's quite the opposite, that cattle, or ruminants, sheep, they're all part of the solution and not the problem. And we have to kind of move away from that in our minds. And the beautiful thing for farmers is that once that story switches, then they become the heroes again that they really are, for doing the
Absolutely.
honorable work they're doing. And
Yeah.
that needs to be like spread out, because it's brutal that they're getting dragged through the dirt in the other way. That
You see,
keep need to bring that out.
the
Yeah.
problem is what they're measuring. Like, they say farming. Farming is so diverse. It's such a complex and complicated system. Industrial farming, it's the how, not the cow. It's how you farm that
Hmm.
makes the difference. Like, in 2024, almost 38% of all beef has come from feedlot beef in Ireland, which
30%.
almost 38%,
Oh,
which is
wow.
the highest ever. And that shows that we're actually following America, we're following Europe by
Yeah.
taking the animals off the land, because it's cheaper and easier and more efficient, science
Hmm.
wise and say accountancy wise, than
Yeah.
having them grazing through a forest or whatever. They're measuring the carbon and the water and the even the methane, the biogenic methane from a beef animal who's fed high protein or soya diet. The methane is way higher than a cow
Ah,
that grazes grass only. A beef animal is
wow.
not supposed to eat concentrates. If you look at nature, they're designed to graze and browse. And
Yeah.
when they're allowed to eat the proper diet, their methane levels drop by up to 30%.
Hmm.
But
That's
that's
interesting.
not measured. What's measured is the unnatural feedlots, beef and dairy, um,
Yeah.
and that is very hard on the environment. Now,
Yeah.
what I get hit with straight away there is, aren't they feeding the world? And that's what we have to. That's what we have to do to feed the
Yeah.
world. And my answer to that is absolutely no way. There's almost
Mm.
800,000 hectares of forestry over 20 years old in Ireland alone. that would benefit from some animal intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So where the animals would not damage the trees, but they would build up organic matter in the soil and actually
Yeah.
enhance the health of the trees. And Coillte is the biggest landowner, forestry landowner in Ireland. I've been talking to Coillte to see would they be interested in introducing some animals into some of their forests. And
Yeah.
I think it will happen. But
Lovely.
if you measure the output per acre of this 30-acre farm, there's a higher value per acre than any dairy farmer. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that we're producing any one, like beef or whatever. When you add all the different enterprises together, we can produce more calories per acre than any dairy farm, which is the most. I'm just picking a dairy farm because it's the most profitable
Yeah.
farming
Yeah.
system, and it's seen as the only viable farming system out there. But it's not. If you have a proper balanced, diverse ecosystem, we can
Mm-hmm.
actually produce way more food per acre. Like a classic example is in the 1940s, it took 10 calories of 1 calorie of energy to produce 10 calories of food. And in 2024, it took 10 calories of energy to produce 1 calorie of food. So
Wow.
the inversion is crazy. And also it's
Yeah.
that the fact that you need 10 calories of energy to produce 1 calorie of food now, it's unsustainable. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to keep adding more and more energy to produce the same amount of food in a monoculture system. Whereas if you can generate your energy on your farm yourself with complementary enterprises, how farming was done for 10,000 years before the Green Revolution, then you have a
Yeah.
truly sustainable and regenerative model.
And that's lovely. You're not exposed to the outside elements then as much,
Absolutely.
you
And
know?
the other
Like,
thing, sorry, yeah, no, the other thing is people have to take responsibility to grow their own food as well. There's 3% of the population of this world taking responsibility to feed the other 97%. 3% of the
wow.
population of this world are farmers.
Did you
And the
hear
other
that, lads?
97,
Cop on now.
sorry,
I said, did you hear that, lads? Cop on now and grow your own
but,
food a little bit.
but never in humanity has people just kind of surrendered the knowledge to grow their own food.
Yeah.
And like they're
Yeah.
totally exposed. And there's nothing more empowering than actually being able to plant a seed, see it grow. And I don't mean 100% of your food, even if it's only 10%, start
Yeah.
small and build that knowledge, get to see the potential and develop new talents and get
Mm-hmm.
away from Netflix and actually get out into the fresh air. And
It's the
there's
connection
so
with
many new,
nature
yes,
that
yeah, like
might be missing in your life. Yeah.
it's you meet other people, whether it's an allotment, whether it's your back garden, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
uh, even just a very small raised bed. Like
Yeah.
it wakens the curiosity in children. It
Yeah.
actually it helps your
Mental
boredom,
health.
your
Yeah.
health, yeah,
Yeah.
physical and emotional and mental health.
Yeah.
There's no downside at all. So that's a huge part of what I try and promote here on the farm is actually to grow your own food and maybe have a
Yeah.
chicken or two um, for for eggs
Yeah.
in your at home as well, and do a little bit of composting, but use the chicken
Mm-hmm.
to help speed up the composting process. You get your eggs out of it way quicker. You start small,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden it will awaken your imagination, and
Yeah.
the sky's the limit. Then
Um, it's a lovely, lovely thing. I live in the city and I'm out on my family and uncle's farm on the weekends, say. And but we grow our own stuff here as well in the city. And
yes,
like there's no garden. We have we have these little pots to like put soil in and the little tiny greenhouses, but they work really well. Like we just did
Yes.
our first harvest of potatoes there. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and and I wasn't talking to you about my background really, but I used to be in investment management, and
Okay.
there was one of the directors who I was good friends with. Um, we'd eat steak and go for drinks at his house, and one of the things he had there was a load of tomatoes grown and a load of chilies, and he made
Absolutely.
his own gin and vodka and God knows what else. But he was the most mellow guy you could meet because he went from his investment management job, which as a director is surely a heavy burden, to going out and fiddling around with his chilies and everything, and it was lovely to see, And he didn't have a big garden either. Like these were all done in pots, but it was some connection that I saw that we all didn't have at the time, and he had it to nature in a better way than we did, and it was
Yes.
actually balancing him out when he came home. And you'd think
Absolutely.
it's more work, but it's not. It's you get into it and you enjoy it.
It's not work when it's a passion.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It
That's
re
why you could probably play around with what you're doing there forever. Like it's probably
you
not
could.
really work anymore, is it?
It's not
Um,
work. No, like I've just shown there are onions, garlic, potatoes, um, and intersown between carrots and there's peas there, there's cauliflowers, broccoli. I've more stuff
lovely.
here, all grown with our own compost from our own animals. So,
Lovely.
oh, and a lot of it is grown from saved seed. So it's a
Ah.
totally
Yeah.
closed loop. So we save the seed each year, and we create our own compost with the animals, which is a,
Yeah.
a byproduct of different farming methods. And it's like I'd say about 80% of our food is grown here on the farm,
Brilliant.
and
Brilliant.
again 100% chemical free. And
But you know
that's when
exactly where it's all. Yeah.
but when people come in and see it's only a raised bed there with that would fit in any 3-bed semi-D back garden, and how you can kind of continuous plant it all year round. And it's actually
Hmm.
easier grow vegetables in winter than summer.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's way less diseases and pests, there's way less insects in winter. So if you
Ah.
plant the right seeds at the right time and the right varieties, they will grow on all winter, more healthy, and you can store them in the
Yeah.
ground if it's carrots or turnips or even cabbage and winter salads. They can all stay in the ground and just pick and come again, or
Right.
um, all winter. So you don't have to store them
Mm.
anywhere. You leave them in the ground. They actually will help
Lovely.
hold the nutrients in the soil, and it's actually mind blowing. Like one of the
Yeah.
crazy um, consequences of this um, journey is the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The deeper
Mm-hmm.
you get into whether it's soil microbiome, whether it's vegetables, whether it's animals, whether it's poultry, the more you actually study it and work with it, and you mistakes you make, and you turn around and go, "Oh my God, I didn't realize you could do this or do that,"
Yeah.
and it's mind blowing. Like that's where it's infinite, where you can go
Yeah.
with this system. Absolutely
Yeah.
infinite.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
I'm on the same journey with just say sustainability in general, which is kind of mad, but it's like just very wide reaching of antimicrobial resistance or antibiotics, chemicals, waste, resources, energy, agriculture, rewild, and all of these things, how they fit together. And it's just never ending. I just found out yesterday, did you hear about the guy in Oregon who they put out of business? They found forever chemicals in all his farm, like forever chemicals and heavy metals and biosolids, if you're familiar with the term. the
Yes.
municipality waste, say from waters, all the makeup, all the tampons, all the wet wipes, all the
Microplastics
left,
and
yeah, all that
uh,
leftover waste
all the
was,
medication that people are on.
yes,
Yes,
yeah,
huge.
exactly. Um, that is left over from, say, the water cleaning services. You know this now, but um, that stuff is then encouraged by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, for farmers to spread on their land as fertilizer. So that
Yeah, yeah,
stuff is going into our food. And then the horrendous thing with this poor fella was like documented like 5 years of how sad and frustrated he was because they encouraged it. The state, which the EPA is a state agency, encouraged this stuff, and then the FDA or CDC or whatever it is over there shut him down because of his contaminated levels of forever chemicals and heavy metals, with no financial appeasement for it. And you're
yes.
con so the farmers are left vulnerable and exposed as well because no one's got their back in that situation, you know? And
Yeah,
he was assured as well that it was fine, you
see, this
know?
is it. And
Biosolids, you wouldn't even think that it's something bad.
yeah, but if you want to take that to another level, that is
Don't.
one of the reasons why and how commercial agriculture has kind of disconnected from nature, because
Yeah.
the EU and the experts in that wrote the policy, like they advised and encouraged farmers to take out ditches and to drain wet areas and to not to plant trees. And if you had trees, you were actually penalized at one stage
Hmm.
with the common agricultural policy, because it was seen as a
Yeah.
waste of land, and it was seen as being non-productive, and you were encouraged to bring it all into production. And I think farmers have been sold down the garden path over the last
100%.
50 years. And so I don't blame farmers at all um,
No.
for doing or spreading or farming in a certain direction. On the positive, right? You talked about forever chemicals. There's no such thing as forever chemicals, actually. There is a solution. Nature can solve all problems. And
Yeah.
we're working with a university on biochar, right? Biochar
Okay.
can strip and absorb chemicals from water. It can filtrate serious water contamination. It can do the same with soil contamination and actually lock it away for hundreds, if not thousands of years, that it can't
Okay.
and won't. It basically filtrates the soil and the water, and all through natural methods.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's unbelievably powerful. And I see that as the future of really helping conventional farms that have been um, exposed to chemicals for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, as a way of decontaminating that soil and bringing it back into chemical free food production um, way
Yeah.
quicker than you think. So
I,
there's great research going on at the moment, and I'm involved in part of it um, on that.
yeah.
And I think when that research is finished, like it's there's another 4 years in the research I'm involved with before it will come up with a definitive results. But it's
Yeah.
extremely encouraging at the moment.
S- See, you even saying that it's 4 years that it'll take for that to finish gives
Yes,
me a reassurance that it's not, pardon my French, bullshit, but there's a load of nonsense science out there, very manipulated, very much in a structure that isn't actually accurate. It's skewed in many, many ways for big reasons and mostly just to protect corporations and make money. So you
absolutely.
taking your time and doing it properly, producing robust science with a lot of integrity is like that's music to my ears because
But
uh,
backed by
yeah,
academics, as in, I hate paperwork. I hate like if you send me a text message I'll send you back a voice note because I just hate typing. I don't have the time for it. Like, if you send me an email, I mightn't read it for a week sometimes because it's only I get up actually. What
I
I have
was
to
waiting a
do,
long time for you to get back to me.
what I have to do now, right? I have to get up an hour earlier every morning just to read emails and just to
Yeah,
reply to text messages and voice notes and stuff, because during the day I like there's just too much going on. Like you're doing physical work, you're meeting physical people, you're
yeah,
trying to do deliveries, you're trying to talk to people, and you have to. For me anyway, I can't multitask. I have to do one job at a time, and so I come home in the evenings when I'm tired, and I'd go into the office and I'd look at emails and I'd just go, oh Jesus, no,
yeah,
it just it's soul destroying to me. I hate it, even if it's good information that's in the email. So to prevent that, I get up an hour earlier every morning now when you're fresh. I get a
hmm
coffee. I go in and stand at the computer at maybe 5:30 in the morning when there's no phone calls and no one, calling in
yeah,
or whatever. And I spent that hour to hour and a half just answering emails, and it actually takes the weight off me all for the rest of the day. Then and it feels like
yeah.
I've something done before I've done anything. If you know what I mean.
You know what I'm thinking? It's the exact opposite of a lad that's working in an office all day. He needs to work out in the morning, is what you're describing with the paperwork. If you get it out of the way in the morning, you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it for the rest of the day, and you can calm down in the evening time, without it lingering in the back.
Oh, see,
You're getting your physical workout in all day, so it's actually the opposite. You need to do the paperwork before you go to work.
absolutely. Like when you're tired, and like I would be physically wrecked in the
Yeah,
evening times, and you're trying to read stuff or trying to reply with good information or good, um, accurate, positive
yeah,
information to people who need help, and it just wasn't working. I couldn't do it. And my brain wasn't
yeah.
able for it, and I'd end up leaving it then, and it could end up 2 3 weeks left there sometimes, and it'd be in the back of my head, and I'd be
Mm.
going, Egypt, you have to do this," and then the rest of my brain would be going, "Don't touch it. It's you're no good at it. Don't do
Oh
it."
yeah. Story of my
Um,
life, Brendan. Like
yeah,
the exact same. Just lingering emails in the background that you're just like, God, I should have done that while I had the energy for it, or just, you know, and then
yeah,
it weighs on you more than if you got it out of the way.
absolutely.
Um, yeah. But life is good since you made the big transition from what haulage, wasn't it? That you
Yeah,
were,
yeah. I had my own hazardous waste haulage company from 2005 until 20. It's kind of 2018 when I got out of it altogether.
yeah,
If you talk about, um, I did it to make money, and like we
yeah.
I have 5 kids. My wife's full time mother. It was a great way of me boosting my income to be able to earn enough so that my wife didn't have to work outside the home. Um,
hmm
but when I hit 40, I had enough of it. I was really burnt out, working like lunatics,
hmm
working for guys, um, that was kind of soulless, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Like,
yeah,
I didn't, it wasn't a business I wanted to hand on to my next generation either. I didn't want
yeah.
to burden them with the pressures of all that. So I had a guy who was interested in taking it over. He did all that. I kind of 2018. I took a year out. Um, Now that didn't actually work out that well for him. He ended up suing me because of, um, I can't do anything about that, but saying
Yeah.
that the work wasn't what it was supposed to be. But um, I bought this land then where I am now in 2019, and I
hmm
wanted to design a lifestyle the total opposite to what I had before. And
Yeah,
now at that stage, like children were coming up near college age, and there's
yeah,
lots of financial pressures at home. Um, but this is where the madness comes out in me, right? I
Yeah.
take on projects with this eternal optimism that, of course, it'll work. Sure, of course, you know. I did
Stubborn
that with the
optimism.
trucks as well. If I knew exactly what I was getting into, I probably would have never got into trucks. But the eternal optimism has got me where I am today, right?
Yeah.
And although we have different pressures now, it's I would never go back to where I was before. Like
Mm-hmm.
the land here, I don't know if you can hear the birds singing.
Mm.
It's so relaxed. We dug ponds. We've tried to design a life that can still produce a decent income without the stresses
Mm-hmm.
and without chasing money, basically. Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you truly believe in what you do, money will come to you,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that's what we're trying to do here, and it's working reasonably well. It's like the regeneration of the land. It's
Yeah.
building momentum year on year, and that's really
Yeah.
it's the long term view I look at, not
You're playing the
today or
long game.
tomorrow. You know.
Yeah. 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 Good on you. Jesus, good on you. Um, it's funny like two things. One of the guys that was with me that day that we were at your farm, he used to be a developer, um,
Okay.
houses like, and I'd ask him sometimes, would you ever go back to it? He goes, not in a chance, not a chance. Like the stress of it, just the probably the phone calls and the everything. But like he's a beekeeper now, and like uh, fierce interesting fella. And his son has organic eggs, and they both love what they're doing. With the passion they're doing it.
That's it.
And I mean, like, so I just had a friend down over the weekend in Galway. So I'm kind of not my full 100% that I'd normally be, 2 days straight. But he works in an office and it works for him, and he really likes it. So it's not that people can't be like I know taxes and regulations guys that thrive for that type of work, but it's not for
Yeah,
me, and that clearly wasn't for you.
it's
Um,
it's it's like trying to ask a fish to climb a tree. Like the
yeah,
fish
yeah, yeah. The
loves the
Einstein
water
quote.
and can
Yeah,
do what it likes in the water. A monkey can
yeah,
climb a tree, but you throw the monkey into the water and
yeah.
you like it
They
you
might be
see
able to
the
do it, but they're not having a good time doing it.
exactly. Yeah. So there
That's
is
it.
everybody has their talent, and it's to make
Yeah,
sure you identify what that talent is and you try and develop it and enhance it as much as possible on your daily life.
yeah,
And I know lots of people who love offices. I know people who just live for the weekend. They work all
yeah,
week just for the
yeah,
weekend
yeah,
to
yeah.
get away. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to be one of
Weekend
them people.
warriors.
Yes,
Yeah,
I didn't want to be
yeah.
one of them people. I wanted to live every day as, like you're lucky. I'm what, 47 now. I'd be lucky if
Hmm.
I have another 40 years in me. And I don't want them years to be kind of regretful either. You know,
Yeah. And you know how you're going to sustain yourself? By doing one of the healthiest jobs you can do.
absolutely.
You know,
That's it.
like
Absolutely. Like,
constant movement, constant good food around you as well, social connections, and you're working towards probably it's probably in your mind as well what you're leaving your kids, as in the world you're leaving your kids. I
yes.
I
Yeah.
see a lot of people my age now who they have the children, and that's when you really start tuning into the future and what's going on. Because I've heard, um I used to hear all the warnings of climate change and everything, but it just went because I was so busy in my corporate life.
Yes. Yeah.
Dare
Yeah.
I say it, I didn't tune into it because I mightn't have cared about it as much as I did care about climbing the corporate ladder. Um, but then something switches in your mind and you go, no, I want the meaningful life. If you can't find meaning in your job anymore, then like I was listening to your timeline of when you did the masters, and I think mine was in 2019. So I was just behind you, when I did sustainable environments, the masters in that. And that was my kind of big gear change. And I haven't looked back since, to be honest. Like I love it's a wild path, but it's when you're constantly looking at the madness of the world and all these good and bad things happening. There's a lot of bad things happening that need to be changed. And you're in this, and you kind of go, no, I'm in the right place, because we're talking about this stuff more and more, and going back to even people are more interested in where their food is coming from now. I had a girl on, Katie Delamon, who's a friend of mine, and she visited Joe Salatin's farm, and
Yeah,
she's not a farmer at all. You know, she lives in Australia, but she came home to visit her family and said, "How far away is Joel Salatin's farm?" An hour away, and they went and visited it. So the public are genuinely interested in this stuff as well. It's great. Like
that's the
there's
humanity that's
life
there.
coming into it. Yeah,
Yes, it
yeah,
is. And it is one of the failings of most, like the bigger the farm gets and the more industrialized it gets, the
mm,
further it goes away from nature, and then the further it goes away from the humanity. And
yeah.
like, and
The welfare, you
I'm,
mean, or
I mean that, well, even with the farmer himself or herself, they become more
ah,
lonely and more isolated.
yes,
They become
yeah,
more stressed because they have to invest in more concrete and more. There's more regulations the bigger they get, and there's more
mm,
worried with slurry spills or nitrates runoff and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if
yeah,
you're farming that diversity, you don't have any of that. And if you open the gate and let people in, you don't have
hmm
that isolation. And you also, you're leaving yourself open to criticism too, which I really enjoy. I
mm.
love people coming in and saying, "Why are you doing it this way? Like, what's
I
like,
made a list after I left your farm.
go
No
away?"
joking. I know I did not. No, I thought it was great. Um,
But yeah, you need that pushback too, and
yeah,
because you have to constantly be questioning yourself and what you're doing, and nobody can know it all at any one time. And anybody
mm,
who says they do, or anyone who says they're experts, I walk away
yeah,
at that stage. You know?
yeah. Speaking in absolutes, yeah. That's it's the kind of it's a warning sign as well if a politician is telling you everything for certain, and they're not going, well, it could go this way or it could go that way. But
Yeah.
if they're speaking in very absolute terms, that's probably dodgy. And with the carbon cowboys, Peter Bick,
Yes.
like that approach is amazing because he's not going around telling farmers what to do. He's inviting everyone along to see what they're coming up with on their own farms, and comparing neighbors to one another,
Yes.
and they're having a laugh, and it's amazing. Like that's breathing life back into farming, and it has nothing to do with you being an organic farmer or anything. There's a huge part of just the social side and making the money side of it work, but come together and understanding that
Absolutely.
they're all different types of farms, so one thing won't work on one farm. Like the rigid science of monoculture crops, that doesn't work. Like you have to actually think about each unique farm, and then, as in the past, store those generational wisdoms of how it works here, pass it down to the next generation. And that's how the old farming system used to work, and it was in line with nature in the loveliest way.
Absolutely. And that's where, again, we hold events both on the farm, but we also go to other farms and around the country and hold events there as well to get that live
Yes.
feedback from public and the farmers as to where things are going right and wrong. So, like,
Yeah.
we have an events page on our website, fhíorbhiafarm.ie, that is constantly being updated with events. Like, we're in Leitrim next weekend, the Organic Centre in
Lovely.
Leitrim. We're holding several events on the farm during the summer, um, just to show people what we do, how you can use different resources on the farm. Like we built a cob house from the soil, that the spoil of digging out a lake that on the farm as well. So we try.
Yeah.
We don't make any one decision for any one reason. Every decision we make has multiple reasons and multiple benefits, and that's really where we're trying to get people to open their minds much wider than just saying, if you spread nitrates, you're going to get grass. Whereas
Yeah.
if you can grow the microbes, you wake up the latent seed bank in the soil, and you will get a multi-species of diversity that your animals can self-medicate on that.
Yes.
Grasses, forbs, and
less vet
legumes.
visits, less everything.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No. It's so yeah. Bringing people together is the only way forward, and it's actually, I think, probably the toughest part for farmers. They're not traditionally good at working together. It's there were years ago, like 2 generations ago, everyone had to work together. I had to help my neighbor had to help me. Because and that's where the social came in, like at the trashings and at when you were sowing, when you were moving animals. Everybody came together and moved each other. No money changed hands, but it was just the way, that was the community. But that has been lost over the last 2 generations, and it's become so much more individual and so much more
siloed.
Exactly, and isolated, and to a point now where a lot of farmers actually suspect, or not suspect, they do suspect one another. There's no real genuine trust between farmers at the moment. I
think it's by design, Brendan.
It is by design. It is.
You know,
sorry.
Yeah. A fella corrected me on a flight to Spain about a half a year ago. It's not divide and conquer, it's divide and rule. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're dividing all of us to make us look like, but if you're earning and I'm not earning, it's if you benefit, I don't, or you're the industry with more cows, so it's actually your fault, or whatever it is. It's making farmers not all sing off the same hymn sheet. And what in fact needs to happen is all of us to kind of come together, and the public also to have farmers' backs.
Absolutely.
And to realize, sorry, but the extensive system that we have in Ireland, grass-based production systems, that's the platform. That's what we can't lose.
That's the jewel in the crown.
Yes.
That's the jewel in the crown.
Yeah.
And like, I've read somewhere that the rich, the billionaires make all the money and do very little of the work. The middle class do all the work and earn a reasonable amount of money, and the poor are there to scare the shit out of the middle class, that just keep them working, right?
Yeah.
But each class blames the other for their problems. But it's actually, it's that 1% at the very top that's making all the money,
manipulating it all. Yeah,
that's actually designing a system that's turning everybody else against one another.
Exactly. And we'd all be stronger. I said it in the last conversation, but there's a scene in Ants, the movie, where the people, the ants come together and realize that they far outnumber these lunatics in that are ruling over them, like way more. And we do have huge power as the people we can steer the conversation if we manage to find common ground.
That's
come together.
Only have that one voice, where you can come together. And like, I guarantee you, I don't know you that well, right? But I guarantee you there's lots of things I don't agree with you on. But if we have a certain amount of commonality, like that we can agree on, and we can trust one another, that we can back each other on that commonality, that's where the power comes in. It really is. And there's lots of other things that we mightn't agree on, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the
That's for
core
another time
message.
of a conversation. Yeah,
Yeah, but
basically.
yeah, it's that core message that we need to
Yeah.
work together on, and that is for
Yeah.
the benefit of everybody.
Yes. Yeah. It's I heard it, it's an upgrade. Like to live in a more, say for me, sustainable world, it's actually an upgrade of your
Yes,
current system that you're living in. Everything will be upgraded if we if we did it the right way, and if we didn't let it get hijacked by corporations telling us this is how we figure it out. Like if we decided as the people how we want clean water, how we want everything, and that it doesn't has to come at an expense to us. It doesn't have to be a painful transition. It can be a great transition where we have better food in front of us, have a safer operating system, um, do honorable work, and come together in our communities and find those common ground themes like clean water and clean air, say. Um, it's all there for us to do, but I do fear that the world is dividing, and it's dividing in it's smashing into little pieces every single thing, like,
yeah, yeah,
and we're getting weaker and weaker because of it. Um, I mean, compared to just geopolitics, if you look at America, which is in times where people are heightened tensions, people are arguing with each other on multiple levels and loads of division. And say if you're China, you're looking at them going, "Hey, you're weaker and weaker and weaker because you can't seem to get on, and you can't
yeah,
seem to agree on a few basic things that need to stay solid." And like they're working 3 decades ahead. Their policy is 30 years in advance, so they've
yes,
long game thinking, and we're flip flopping on each government that comes in. In America, they're like one government will go in, do certain things, unravel the other one, and then the next one comes in, unravels the legislation of the prior. Like,
yeah. It's creating this vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. You know, like
hmm
there's and again, that vacuum is filled with uncertainty. It's filled with radicalism. It's filled with
yeah,
extremism, and
and it never
then
works.
the steady voice then gets drowned out, and
Yeah,
the people who try and work together, um, it's just it erodes trust, and the more trust that's eroded, the less chance of people coming together.
hmm hmm
You know,
And we are the silent majority, believe it or not, if you realize it.
yes,
I know Richard Nixon used that in a different way, but it is the silent majority of people. Do you know what he did? He did the opposite. He said the silent majority are the ones that don't want anything to change and let things just be. But I think the
yes,
silent majority now are the ones that are kind of fed up with how, like from cost of living crisis and inflation and vulnerability in job markets and energy prices going up and all of these things that are leaving us exposed and diminishing our quality of life. Um, that's the stuff. We're the silent majority that don't like that. And it is more than 80% of people would come together on all of those things. And that's where I hope we do kind of. That's the whole idea of my book as well, is just focusing on what we can agree on,
yes,
and
absolutely,
not at the pain of any particular group in society. Like if
yeah,
my uncles are farmers, if I and I know you come from a farming background, don't you? Your dad was a farmer.
yes,
Yeah, it's not like we're different people. Like we're of the same people who would never sell. I'm not particularly. I wouldn't sell my uncles down the river, just because I'm so passionate about the environment alone. Like it has to work together, in
yes,
balance, you know, and
absolutely,
where not one segment of the population is bearing the brunt of everything else. Farming is one of those places where you can do massive things, but not to blame them for everything either. Uh,
No,
you know,
absolutely,
you
yeah,
see this, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, I really do. Like, and there's no other industry out there that kind of shows the pressures like agriculture, and that individualization and that lack of kind of next generation, a new blood that needs to come into any industry to keep it developing properly.
yeah,
And
yeah,
um, so agriculture is crying out for a voice, a single voice that can actually
yeah,
guide it in a more hopeful and regenerative
yeah,
direction,
yeah,
and it's really the industry and the government policy that's preventing that from happening.
mm-hmm. And that's a lesson as well, folks, that one thing is voting with your wallet, what you buy, but there's so
Yes,
much in the background as well that needs to be turned, like industrial policy, all of those things where the money starts flowing, that's where things flourish, or where it's taken away from it, it dies out. I personally think more money does need to go into farming to the right things to entice people in. No, lot of carrot, not stick. Farmers, small farmers in particular, have been through enough that they should be just encouraged to do the good thing, or whatever thing that, but out of a place of enticement, not smashing down on them for being so bold. And here's more paperwork, kind of thing. Uh,
yes, and
and
penalizing.
yeah, yeah. Um, Lost my train of thought there, but I think you and say Peter Bick and all these guys that are throwing yourself into this, um, you're gonna you're gonna change the shape of the future, and you're going to change how the public look at farming, and push back kind of on. You change the narrative or the story that it has been so harsh on farmers, and you go, no, we're part of the solution. We're the ones.
Absolutely.
We create your food. We can help with climate change and biodiversity loss and all of these things.
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
there is a saying out there that the early mouse never catches the cheese. I don't know if you ever heard that
Okay.
before. Basically,
No.
where um
The
the,
opposite of the early bird.
yeah, like we're preparing for this to happen, but it's going to be very tough for
Mm.
for it to happen quick enough for a lot of farmers. Like
Yeah.
they're already on the edge with their financially, and maybe don't have a
Yeah.
successor, and
Yeah.
it really has to happen. Like I'd say we've got probably 10 years
Yeah.
of the family farms left, and like that's with abattoirs, like they're
Mm.
disappearing as well because of
The
government
smaller ones.
regulation. Abattoirs for that's really the only way I can do what I do and direct sell, by having local abattoirs to
Yes.
process our
Yeah.
meats. And
Yeah.
like this year, 2025, all abattoirs changed from the HSE who were um, inspecting them to the Department of Agriculture, and it opened up a
Hmm.
whole list of rules and regulations to do the exact same work with the Department of Agriculture as opposed to the HSE. So it actually has encouraged several well-renowned abattoirs to close and to sell out, because they didn't have the money it took to, or the encouragement and confidence to spend
Mm.
that extra money that the Department of Agriculture wanted to bring it up to their standards, even though
Mm.
they already were up to the HSE standards, which was the
Yeah.
the old um, inspectors. that's all government run. That's all government driven.
Yeah, that's policy.
So the
Yeah.
government has to stop changing the rules every and actually encouraging new abattoirs to open. That's the only way we
Mm-hmm.
can really keep
I
the independence out there in agriculture.
I constantly think about this, Brendan. The locality, or like where the processing plants, abattoirs are. That's a huge part that I think the general public might not realize, that if you have to send your cattle or sheep or whatever off far away to the middle of the country, and in America it's huge distances that they have, instead of just having the old traditional smaller abattoirs, more going on maybe in the butchers, that allows you to sell. It makes the system easier for you to sell locally.
More
Um,
efficient. Yes.
more efficient, more oversight on the health of the animals when they go in. I saw this thing about the size of them in America, where they're killing, say, 30,000 cows a day. They're not inspecting them all. You know,
Not at all.
like it's
No.
it's much healthier for us as well if it's local. Um,
Yeah. See,
yeah.
we don't dose our animals for any pathogens or any we don't use any antibiotics. So
Hmm.
our land is wet as well. So we are susceptible to the likes of liver fluke and lungworms and stuff like that if
Yeah.
we farmed, you know, say traditionally, or not say conventionally, I should say. Now,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can go to my abattoir and ask that uh, butcher how did our liver of the last animal look like, had it got
Hmm.
any liver fluke. I can ask him,
Yeah.
like, again, inspect the lungs, inspect the the interior of the animal. You can get live feedback from that abattoir, and he can tell you
Hmm.
straight away that it was fit and healthy, or maybe there was something wrong with one or another. And but if you go to a large factory, you'll never get that feedback.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's essential, even down to inspecting the health of the animal, as well as
Yeah.
obviously the stress of that animal from traveling long distances as
Hmm.
well can
The
really
animal welfare
affect
aspect. Yeah.
the welfare. It can affect the quality of the meat. It can affect, obviously, it's going to cost you more the longer you have to travel with it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
after spending its whole life in the woods and it gets into a trailer and you stress it out for its last day, that's not really what I'd stand for either.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a yeah, I mean, how you're farming as well compared to the intensive side is a dramatic reduction, or a dramatic increase in quality of life. Like there, I'd love
Yes.
if people saw the nuance in this, like that. Like I did a video of my uncle just petting the cows. Like he was just there doing it without, he didn't even know the camera was on him. But the good animal husbandry, um, and it's more personal. The whole system could be more personal, and like even your big processing plants thing, like it's kind of like we have the services, but we have the poor customer service. Like you can go, if it was a small abattoir, employing the local people, um, you'd be able to talk to them. But the bigger it gets, the more impersonal it gets, it more dehumanized and de-animalized everything is.
Yes.
It's going back to kind of the good old days, if where farms could work financially like they did before without going too intensive, say, like without,
Absolutely.
you know, and so your dairy farm stuff that's going on, when you watch the climate policy that's ever encroaching on emissions, on land space. Therefore, you want dairy farmers might need more land for more cattle, so they have enough stocker rates to make the whole thing even economically viable. And then if the ever encroaching climate policy is coming at them, then they might resort to Bovair, which is big pharma produced stuff to reduce cows' methane emissions by 30%, say. So, like, that climate policy is doing that, kind of forcing it to almost go more intensive, whereas the
It is.
regenerative side, you could be making bigger bucks or better bucks on a not necessarily a smaller farm or not a bigger farm, but you could have higher stocking rates and be doing your part for climate change and biodiversity loss and be respected and honored by the community for your great work. Like, you can see why I'm enthusiastic about it, and I obviously know you're enthusiastic about it. And I think it's only the start. Like, this is really well done for being one of the guys that's taken the risk, you know? Like, that somebody has to do it. You're one of the first people throwing yourself into it, and in Ireland especially. Um, it's great. We need the people to be just going out there and trying new things, and you're one of them. Like, I do really respect that. Like, well done, for having the gonads to do that.
Yeah, like it's how to put this. It's the right thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Like you can see the benefits to the soil, you can see the benefits to the land, you can
Brendan,
see. Oh, you're
it
gone, are you?
just cut off. It just cut off there. You're
Oh
back
no.
now again, but damn it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was probably a really passionate speech. Sorry. Can you muster that up again?
Uh, I just dry my eyes here first.
Yeah.
Um, but you were saying about
Uh,
why you're doing it,
well done,
or
like, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but there's no real choice. We have to change. Like
Mm,
it's proven that farming is going down the wrong path long term, and it's knocked out the balance of the natural ecosystem. Like I'm not
mm,
saying it's only agriculture that's polluting. It's not, but it is part of the problem, right? The current system, and
mm,
not just the environment, but again on your isolation and the mental health problems and the regeneration of the for the next generation with um so agriculture looks bleak at the moment, and
hmm.
there has to be a solution, and I firmly believe that this is
Yeah.
part of the solution.
In my heart too, I know this is it. This is it. Like, this is what, like, I've told you around the same timeline I've been working in sustainability consultancy since I did my master's, and I've really thrown myself deeply into all the issues of sustainability in the world and how they interact, the bridges between them. And when I kind of stumbled upon the regenerative side, I realized that it's much more than just taking the chemicals out of it, but figuring out how to regenerate things and allow nature to thrive and everything together. And it's the penny dropped as well. The higher stocking rates that would be in intensive farming, which is obviously not good for animal welfare, and there's a whole load of other bad things that are going on with, for us, say, antibiotic resistance, not having the antibiotics work on us when we're in hospitals or sick. Um, the chemicals that are being used in it are making people infertile. All of these things are really dodgy, and need to be kind of knocked on the head before it keeps getting worse. And then lo and behold, regenerative farming steps in and has the solutions that could make farmers happier, have more money in their pocket, um, tackles climate change and biodiversity loss, boosts or regenerates communities, and back to the good old days kind of thing. It's lovely. So I just feel it that this is the solution and not the chemical future that is being pushed on us by big corporations and
Yeah,
governments now, unfortunately, because they're influenced
unfortunately,
by the corporations. Yeah. So
absolutely. So hopefully, there's a bright future. That's all I can say. You always have to have hope.
there's, yeah, yeah. This is the hope. Fair play to you, Brendan. Really appreciate this. Keep up
Well,
the good work.
thanks for the chat, and yeah, keep up the good work as well.
We'll see. Oh, and so your Instagram is Fhíorbhia, Fiorbia, is it? And then
BHIA,
Bhia.
yeah, for Via Farm.
Just after showing up how weak my Irish is. Which means good food, doesn't it?
Yeah, good food or real food is the
Yeah.
translation
Yeah.
in Irish. So I wanted an Irish name so that if you Googled it and anyone in Ireland, if it popped up, to know at least it's an Irish farm,
Yeah.
because
Lovely.
when I set this up, there was really no regenerative farming in Ireland at the time. It was really, if you look up, you would have got American and European farms. And
Mm.
so when you see an Irish name pop up, you knew at least it was attainable, or
Yeah.
now.
Lovely.
Another guy said to me, you should have a name. The name of your business should be remembered after having 10 pints. And Fhíorbhia probably doesn't roll off the tongue as easy
Yeah.
as a lot of other snappy names, but you can't have everything.
You can't. No. Yeah, hey, it's perfect. I think I'd remember it after 10 pints. I wouldn't remember anything else after 10 pints, but
You
I'd
wouldn't
probably
spell it
remember.
though.
No, no, but I can't spell it after like no pints.
Yeah, yeah.
So- no, and your documentary, Malin to Misenhead,
God, yeah, I
uh,
never even thought of that. Yeah, we
well,
cycled from Malin to Misenhead last August, calling into 10 different regenerative farms to highlight the benefits of regenerative and organic farming in Ireland, to show that it's already national. It's not a niche thing. There's actually loads of good
mhm,
work happening from the ground up. And we did it. We hired a production company to record the whole thing. So we're traveling around the country with that now. It's called The Longest Malin to Mizzen, A Road to Regenerative Farming. And it's really just to show the public the potential of farming chemical free and farming with nature and it brings you into 10 different farms to show you how they do it and how they sell it. And it's interesting.
great.
I wanted
Yeah.
to start a conversation,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
solutions, but it's enough there, hopefully, to light your imagination to start a conversation.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And you're going around the country showing it.
Yeah,
Is it one
if you
every
keep
month or one
if you
every
keep an
two
eye on
months?
our website again in the events
Yeah.
section, um, we're basically doing 1 to 2 each month, right the way up till Christmas. Like we're in the
Lovely.
Organic Centre in Leitrim, we're in Crofwell and Galway. We're going to be in ATU in Galway as well. We're in
Okay. Brilliant.
Cork City, West Cork. We're in Dublin several times with it. So if you keep an eye on the website, you'll see where we are each month. And
Deadly.
it's as I say, it's just to keep the regenerative farming idea in people's minds, and
Yeah.
hopefully light that fire that people start asking more questions.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Love it. And I can't wait to go to one of them because there's food there as well.
Yeah, we cook some regenerative and organic foods. We show the documentary, and then we have a good discussion with the people who come to get their live feedback and their concerns, and then we try and mold our next, our what we're doing to suit the problems that people have.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So it's a steep learning curve for us too. We're like, we're doing this all to basically build the data that's needed for the next to build a truly regenerative model.
Which takes time and a lot of effort.
Yes, a lot of effort, and if it's not the easiest, but I think long term it will really pay dividends.
Yeah, excellent. Brendan, thank you so much for sticking the neck out like that and doing your thing. It's going to be long term. It's going to shift the conversation in the right direction. And
Absolutely.
I feel it, and I feel it coming from America as well, and I feel it from other places. And it's like, this is the change. This is the positive change people are looking for.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Galway, because I'm not going any further than Galway to to
No
see
worries.
it.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care. Appreciate that now. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit the like and subscribe button so you'll see more of my content in the future. It would really mean a lot to me, because I'm just starting out. Thanks, and see you soon.